I'm going to move on to stage 3 of this development now. As you can see, I've got all the track removed, and this is where the old line used to be. So I've got to get in here now a track that comes down here and branches off into 2 lines. This will give me one line for the coal wagon and one line for the actual coaling. Now remember, this is the new water tower that I've got to squeeze in here somehow, and I'm going to see what I can do. I tried some of the old lines, and all I had was left hand points like this. This is the only right hand point. I've got a couple of these, but I think maybe if I lay that into its rough place, what I've got to do is to make sure that any locomotives travelling down there don't interfere with this line as well. So it's going to be something I'm going to have to try to achieve. Let's have a look now. See, that's too close now. So I'm going to have to bring it over there a little bit. I don't mind it being a little bit on the close side. Well, I can set it exactly right afterwards. But I've got to make sure I can get this in. And at that, I'll just about get it in, provided I've got enough space to get a wagon through there, or a locomotive as well. The other problem that I entail is the curves here. Now I've got plenty of curves, and they're all, let's have a look, I'm going to assume that's more or less in the right spot there. So if I put one curve in there, and I put another curve, I'll have to move all this junk out of the way, and I put another curve in here, it's going to run into the hillside, which is not a problem really, because it's a raised track anyway. I'm going to have to raise that track, but I would prefer it if they went more around here, and I don't have any sharper curves than that, but I do have somewhere a piece of flexi-track. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. I found it. I've got a piece of flexi-track here, so I may be able to just, yeah, I think I'll be able to do that. If I can just curve that in from there, just a little bit. A little bit will make a big difference here, because these two need to be this distance away anyway when it comes out. I think it's going to make a difference anyway. If I just make a slightly sharper curve there and there, it's going to make a big difference here. I can leave this tree in place, and I can probably get the new coaling facilities in there. So that's what I'm going to try. What I'm going to do first of all now is get this first track here nailed down in its right position, so it allows passage of 2 locomotives, still leaving myself room to get in the new coaling tower. Sorry, the old coaling tower, not the new one. So I'm going to take it from there, and then I'll come back and we'll revisit this when I start to get the curves in. I've got the track laid in now, and if you notice, I've just added a little slight curve onto this one, so I can just check that these don't collide when they run on this track. I've been very careful, and they're just about clear, so I'm going to leave it at that, because that gives me plenty of room to get this water tower into the right scale. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. The next thing to do now is for me to get the flexi-track and see what I can do with those. I've now managed to get the first curve in round here now, and it's going to be raised up, so I'm going to have to somehow right through this. I can't remember how I made this. I think it's paper mache. It's quite strong. And another thing, I'm definitely going to have to move this tree because it's going to interfere. I need to get that curve there, but I also want to get in this loading stage as well. So I'm going to have to move that back a little bit, I think, and I'm going to have to dig into the hillside for that as well. So let's just try moving this tree out now. Oh, that was easy. That was so easy, right? So that tree is going to go back over here somewhere. So in fact I can do that now. That was simple. I didn't anticipate that. So now what I've got now, I've got this curve which is okay. I just need to build it up. It's already on an incline, so I need a flat surface along here and then a steady incline, and then the other track will come round level on the base. So I'm going to have to take some of this hillside out as well. So we're getting there. Onwards and upwards. I managed to cut a piece of balsa wood, like so, which I'm going to use as the straight platform. Oh, I've just pulled a nail out. I didn't want to do that. Right, so what I'm going to do is make sure that this will fit in here, which it will, and I'm going to dig into this hillside now, and I'm going to raise this up. I reckoned about 20 millimeters would be about right from this lower track level. So I've got to build that up now, and then it's got to be a slow decline down to this side here. So I've got to do a bit of digging into the hillside. I'll move that now. You can see it's all covered in vegetation, so I'm going to see if I can recycle this. That should be easy enough to pull off, and then I can reuse that somewhere else. But then I've got to cut through the paper mache, get this platform in here, dig it into the hillside so it can't move. I'll glue it in place, and I think it might be a good idea if I painted it first. So I'm going to paint that black, dark black if I've got it, and then I'll let it dry. When it's dried, I'm going to dig it into the hillside there and then get the track on. I can then work out where the corresponding road for the locomotives is. So we're moving there, we're getting there, slowly but surely. I've now got the platform in, it's glued in place, and I've got my old trusty flat irons holding it down now. And this is the track, which has been glued and nailed into position, but you see it's quite a gradient there, so I'm going to see how that works out after this is set. I'm going to have to leave that overnight now. So we'll continue with this on the next day. Now that the glue has hardened, and I'd just better explain here, I didn't think the PVA was doing too well with the plastic and the wood, so I applied some Gorilla Glue, and it's the expanding type, so that's why it looks a mess. So from here on now, I'm just going to remove the weights, and we'll take a look at how it's set. Get rid of my old two trusty flat irons. I don't know how I'd survive without those. They're so useful, believe it or not. So this is the platform I put in place, and that's pretty sturdy, that. This is nothing. So I'm going to obviously have to trim all this back. I can leave this section here and put vegetation in it. Here is going to be a problem. It'll have to be cut back because this track has got to come round and continue to meet up with this one here. So out of curiosity, you know what, that's not bad. I'm happy with that, and I'll be able to fix that in place. I'll have to just extend the line a little bit at this end, but I'm just happy that this hasn't moved here, so it's really set solid. That I just got to be careful. What I'm going to do before I do that, I will fix this track into place, and then when I fix the track in place, I'm going to pack up underneath this here, because there's a big gap under here. So I'm going to get some blocks of wood, glue them down and make it really secure, but obviously after I've got this track in place here. So that's the next stage of development, and we'll come back and we'll review it again soon. The first track is now laid, it's nailed and it's glued. So again, my trusty old irons will be there to add their weight to the situation. Well, we're another step nearer again. So this has now been glued. Let's see how that's worked out. One flat iron, two flat irons. Well, the first track is in there. So we've got a wagon somewhere. There's the wagon, coal wagon, and it should run on its own when it gets to that gradient. Well, it would do. It will do when I get rid of all this junk off here now. So again, I've glued it, as you can see. I've got all this glue in here, so now it's a case of removing all the excess and then making it weathered. The second track can then come in here. So I've got this one ready. This is going to be ready for being bent round there, and I'm just going to maybe extend it a little bit at that end. So we're getting there, slow but sure, but we're getting there. Well, I think it worked out pretty well all in all. I hadn't realised I got this mesh under here, but I have. So I've got both of these lines in now, as you can see, and it worked out pretty well as I expected. So now it's a case of just checking, just run the coal wagon up there and bring along an engine that needs refueling, and you can see it's quite a decent height there for that to be cold. You know, when the wagon's sides come down, you can get the coal into the bunker there. So I'm very pleased with that, and also it gives me lots of room. I can't turn this upside down because I've got all the surplus grass and stuff in there. So this is where the old water tower is going to be, and you can see there's lots of room there to get it past now. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It worked out really well. So the next stage is going to be for me to fill in all the bits here, fill in all underneath here. I'll have to put some cardboard or something in so I can paint that black, and then fill in the sides. I've contoured the platform that it was on to meet with the track, and I think that's going to look pretty darn good when it's finished. So the next stage, as I say, is going to be building the water tower. So that's all the track in place now. I've just got the tarting up to do, and I'm really pleased with how it worked out. So stay tuned, and the next video is going to be about building the water tower, the old water tower.